Normally around this time, I would be so excited because we're getting to the end of the winter season here in Quebec. Things are starting to melt. And in fact, we haven't even had that much of a winter. Not as much snow as we have, and it hasn't been as cold, which has been very friendly. But I am disappointed when I drive a vehicle like this 2022 Subaru Forester Premier, because this vehicle performs so well in the snow that I almost wanted to have a major snowstorm while I'm driving this. Now, the last time we drove the Subaru Forester was back in 2019, and that was a sport trim. So what's new for 2022? Well, this uses the next generation EyeSight 4 system with a new electronic brake boost. Also, the front and rear ends have been redesigned with a new rear bumper, new front bumper, as well as a grille and the LED fog lights at the bottom. That's a nice plus, something that we didn't have before on the Forester, so nice changes here. I really do like the look of this. As well, this is finished in the new Cascade Green Silica. Now, Subaru also says that the suspension has been retuned for this year, so we'll be talking about that when we go on the road test. Now, our Premier trim is fully loaded here in Quebec, and it again gets those redesigned LED fog lights. We have the two-tone black and brown leather interior, which looks very nice, as well as the driver-focused hand gestures for the HVAC controls. You raise your hand up in front of the sensor, you have a closed fist, it'll lower the temperature, and if you open your hand, it'll raise the temperature again. We'll talk about that and see how it works on the road. We also have a new auto-dimming rear view mirror with HomeLink built into it. It's frameless, looks very nice. We've seen that before from other manufacturers, as well as the dual function X mode. We talked about that when we drove the Sport before. It can get you out of some sticky situations, deep snow, mud, sand, things like that. I don't think we're going to be testing it this week, unfortunately, but the feature is now available on more trims, which is nice to see. Now, this uses the same 2.5-liter horizontally opposed engine that we saw in the previous unfacelift version. It is a tried and true engine for Subaru. It produces 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque, and has a CVT. Now, I know that doesn't sound super exciting. A lot of the vehicles that we've been featuring in the compact crossover segment have started to at least offer more performance-oriented, or more power at least, in their engine lineups. This is pretty much the only engine you get across the board for the Forester sold here in North America, so you're not going to be able to go up to anything special. This is basically it, which is okay. I mean, you're not buying this because you're an enthusiast, you want to be able to race around, although with the smaller amount of power on this, if you do load this up with 5 people and some cargo, you might feel it. But the CVT works well with the symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Paired with the right winter tires, this thing will be unstoppable in pretty much any weather conditions. Now, if I were to buy this car, I would probably skip the Premier trim. You're only getting some extra frills on this, such as the chrome accents, the chrome door handles, the satin chrome caps on the mirrors, as well as the roof rails. So I would personally just skip that, go with the Limited. The Limited has all the safety tech, all the features, everything that you would really want out of the vehicle. It just doesn't look quite as fancy, but you do save a little bit there. And that's essentially one of the main selling features of this vehicle. Yes, there's some great safety tech, some nice features on it. The space on this is also very good. It's one of the larger compact crossovers in the segment, but price is ultimately going to be one of the reasons why people will consider this over the competition. It's pretty affordable compared to some of the other vehicles, mostly because they don't offer all the same tech. There's no ventilated front seats, there's no power folding mirrors. The sunroof, while it is larger than most, it's not quite panoramic, and it's got a manual slider, so if you want to put the shade up, you got to reach all the way back into the back and pull it forward on your own. So there's some small things like that that might be a bit of an annoyance for some, but necessarily not a deal breaker, which is another reason why the price is a little bit better. So I think that they are going to sell quite a few of these. There are some good reasons that you would want to be considering this vehicle, and overall the package is working out quite well for this updated Forester. I mean, we liked it back when we drove the 2019, and I think it's only gotten better with the slight redesign. Now, the interior is pretty much identical to what we saw before. There isn't much change there. We have the 8-inch Subaru infotainment system, has Sirius XM, Apple CarPlay, navigation, Android Auto, all the fun stuff there, as well as a 9-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. So all of that works very well. We have the 3-screen setup. You have the small driver information screen above that, which has some information there, as well as the cluster computer. So we've talked about that at length before. but the seats are comfortable. Space is very good. Rear seat space is very, very good. If you're looking at this as a family car, you will be surprised at how much space is there. Plus the trunk space is good. This is almost like a mid-size vehicle when you think about it. It is quite big, so good stuff there. Heated rear seats, heated front seats, as well as driver memory and dual zone climate control. So again, it's not over the top. They aren't adding things that you don't necessarily need. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are nice to have, but the safety tech is what's key when it comes to the Forester. But I do want to take it on the road. I want to talk about how this vehicle performs, how it handles and drives, if the suspension is any different, and if I notice anything different from when we drove it back in 2019, on top of how it compares to all the other vehicles that we've tested since. Well, it looks like we've got some wet stuff coming down right now. Not quite as much to be able to do any actual winter testing with, but if you really do want to know how the new generation Subaru Forester performs in the snow, I strongly suggest taking a look at the video that we did on the 2019 Sport, because we had really rough conditions that day. We were also using probably the best tires as far as I'm concerned, the Toyo Observe GSI 5s. Those were excellent tires on that car. On here, we've got Bridgestone Blizzaks. They're not my favorite, but they're also not bad overall. So, you know, a day like today, it's not going to make a huge difference, but if you are looking at tires when it comes to these vehicles, you know, I would personally go with the Toyos. And that's sort of the whole reason of buying this vehicle. It comes down to confidence. You want to have that confidence when you're on the road in all sorts of weather conditions. And when it comes to a vehicle, if there's a major snowstorm, if I had to choose what I would be driving, what I feel would get me to my destination in one piece, in the safest, and not only the safest, but the least stressful way, it would probably be a Subaru Forester. I've had great success with this. I mean, I would probably go with the Outback, but the all-wheel drive system that Subaru has is fantastic. Everything works very well. So that's essentially the biggest selling factor of this vehicle, is really just peace of mind and confidence on the road. That's why I do see a lot of them here, and it seems like they have been selling a lot more Subarus over the past couple of years. Yeah, I think that this facelift is handsome. I wouldn't say it's a sexy design, but it's handsome. Distinct difference there. So I think it looks very nice. Again, I would go for the limited trim, or even the Wilderness looks pretty cool. But yeah, if you do have a little bit of extra change lying around, you do want to have a bit of extra fancy bits on this, then there's nothing wrong with the Premier, but you are getting that peace of mind, and that's what you're buying it for. Now, I have been driving this for a little while now. We averaged 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers on our test loop. Compare that to some of the other vehicles we've done, it's pretty close. Some of the other vehicles, they really all average around the high to mid 7s. Some of the least efficient ones are up into the 8 liters per 100 kilometers, but this is right in the middle of a pretty fuel efficient vehicle. There's no turbo on this, there's nothing really fancy about it. It's just a standard Subaru Boxer engine. So it works out well enough. Again, if you were loading it up with a lot of stuff, might feel a little bogged down. I do feel that the power is a little low, but again, the type of buyer who's looking at this vehicle, I don't think is going to be as worried about having 185 horsepower compared to some other vehicles out there. So I think it works well enough, again, for this type of buyer and the people who are going to be looking at this. So no issues there. But yeah, I've enjoyed the drive. Do I see a difference with the suspension? I don't know, I couldn't tell you. I really would have to have driven the 2019 that we did back to back with this. You know, it's smooth enough. It's pretty much in line with any other compact crossover that I've driven. And that's the thing, I mean, there isn't anything really about this vehicle that stands out, aside from the safety and sort of the confidence that you're getting on the road. Those things are great, but there aren't any real standout features. There isn't anything that really rises above the rest of the competition when it comes to anything about it. So it's pretty average for everything else. The steering is fine, suspension is fine, comfort is good on this. Visibility is fantastic when it comes to this vehicle. You have extremely tall windows here. I feel that there's a lot of visibility around the vehicle. So things like that are certainly nice pluses to have. But yeah, I feel that this is a vehicle that you're going to be buying because you just need a vehicle, not necessarily because you want to have something special. I mean, there's a term that a lot of people use when it comes to these, and it's a toaster, right? Because you buy a toaster because you need a toaster. You just want it to toast things. And the Subarus have always sort of been that. They are essentially just an appliance, and it's okay, right? It's okay to have that. There is a huge market for vehicles like that, for people who just want something that really is no fuss and gets the job done, and that's what this Subaru does. So I mean, for this update, they've made some nice changes. I do like that the eyesight system, it's a little bit smaller than it was before. It takes up less space in the top of the windshield. It's also got a black plastic housing now. Before it was like a beige gray, so this sort of blends in a little bit better. And like I said, I mean, the facelift has made this vehicle look a little nicer overall. So if you are in the market for a compact crossover, you want to have good space on it, and that's more or less all you're looking for. You're looking for confidence, safety, and decent space, then this should be good. Pricing is also pretty good on this, as we mentioned as well. So for the most part, you're getting a pretty solid vehicle without any of the frills that, you know, sort of add to the price of these vehicles. So I've been pretty happy with it. But before we wrap up, I did mention we were going to talk about the little driver attention system here that allows you to use hand signals. The first time I tried it, it did not work. You do have to be driving. So I am in drive right now, and if you hold your hand up like this, it is, there we go, it did it. So you have to just put your hand down though to change it again. You can only do it, and it's 2-degree intervals. So I have the temperature currently set to 21 degrees Celsius. So if I put my hand up, now it's at 23. I guess it's okay. Put my hand down like this in a fist, and sometimes it gets it. It's kind of missed it here. No, it still doesn't get it. So yeah, it's not perfect. Maybe also the camera's in the way. I don't know. It's not a perfect system overall, but the idea is it's there. It's meant to help you keep your eyes on the road more, and there is a pretty nice system on this to make sure that you are paying attention to the road built into that system there. So it works. It's there. It's a little gimmicky, but it does work. But that's about it for this episode. If you have any questions about this 2022 Subaru Forester Premier, please leave a comment below. I do try to get back to everybody that I can. Also, consider giving a thumbs up to the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.